The work in the exhibition was made in situ over 5 days, and typically I work in that way, so I'll bring the raw material to the gallery space and build the work directly on site. And I think there's always, to some extent, a plan, but particularly with this work, I knew that I wanted to work with rope. But beyond that, actually, the work was really improvised within the space. And, I think that always shifts when you're kind of actually physically in the room and kind of observing how the light moves and the kind of physical features of the room as well. Unfired clay, for me, is a particularly important material, I think, in one way, just from that directness of how you can work with clay and that kind of relationship people have had to working with clay across time. That it doesn't require anything other than the hand. And I think also that kind of sense that it responds to everything you do, that there's this continual conversation in working with clay rather than it being kind of forced to be something. It kind of, there's a give and take there. And also for me, what's really important is the potential for the material to kind of continually be reformed. So after the exhibition, I'll dissolve the clay and kind of rework that back to use for another piece. And so I think, that idea that sculpture doesn't have to be fixed and is kind of this ongoing sort of formation and recycling throughout the works. So my relationship to Robert Mapplethorpe and Magdalena Abakanowicz, the other artists in the exhibition, I think there is this very strong connection in different ways between all of us to, thinking about nature and this human relationship to nature. And I was really struck with the particular photographs of Mapplethorpe in the exhibition, two of which are very quite close up of leaves that even when I was making, kind of looking at the lines on the palm of my hand kind of transferred into the clay, and it almost mirrored these images of leaves. And I think with Abakanowicz there's a shared sense of things kind of accumulating from this labour of the body, and that kind of, there's certainly a kind of weight in that it may be manifesting in different ways, but I think weight often plays into the work, but with this work I guess there's this suspended weight in quite a literal way, but also the weight of detail and that kind of labour invested in something which ultimately won't last. I think that kind of, I think in her work there's also this incredibly rich sense of how things have been made by hand and the time and material invested in them.